Like many of you, I've been here inside of my home for quite a few days now, and I've actually been making the best of it. I've gotten a lot of work done a lot of editing, get to wear comfy sweatpants, get to try new coffees. Speaking of which, thank you to Trade Coffee for sponsoring today's video. With Trade, you can discover new coffees from top roasters, matched to your own personal preferences and delivered right to your door. Simply take the quiz, tell Trade how you like your coffee, and they will curate matches just for you. You can also let them know how often you would like your coffee delivered, and just like that, it'll appear at your doorstep fresh from the roaster. Now the cool thing is that once you've actually tried your coffee, you can go back online and rate them. That way Trade can further dial in your preferences and your taste buds preferences as well. And the first 100 people to click the link down in the description below will get 30% off of their first bag when they sign up, free shipping included. But now it is time to sit back, relax, have a cup of coffee, and enjoy this behind the scenes.
Okay, ready? I'm ready, yeah. In 3, 2, 1.
So this sequence was actually part of a passion project that I helped out a couple of friends on in collaboration with Sanctioned Skate Shop. Today I'll be taking you through the behind the scenes of how I shot the sequence, as well as some commentary on the thought process of filming these shots, with an emphasis on how I shoot for the edit. Now you guys know already that I prefer to shoot most of my footage handheld if I can, but anytime there's a shot that calls for a longer range of motion, meaning that I'm going to have to walk more than 2 or 3 steps, I would definitely prefer to use a gimbal or some sort of stabilizer in these cases, because if a shot is intended to look smooth, this will ensure that it turns out that way. For this next shot here, I actually would have preferred not to use a gimbal, but because we were already there, the camera was already on the stabilizer and it was cold out, I didn't want to waste time taking it apart, so I just quickly got the shot and then we head inside. Hold it like how you're going to be holding it though, naturally. And go. Now the point of the sequence is to follow the journey of the snowboard. So Aaron grabs it from outside of the skate shop, he brings it in, and then he walks the box towards his work desk. Aaron is actually the one who said, what if as he's walking towards the table, the board slides out of the box? I thought this was really creative and I loved the sound of the idea, so we cut a hole in the bottom of the box, and the result is a shot that looks like this.
3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1, board.
Dennis, when you're pulling it off, you have to apply some weight downward so that it doesn't go like that.
Okay.
Because we don't want the board coming out of the bottom, we want it coming out of there.
Yeah.
Now this was definitely a tricky shot, so we did have to try it a few times. The main struggle for me filming it was that as I was walking, I was so concentrated on my screen and my framing that I couldn't see where I was going and if I was gonna crash into things. I actually ended up asking my friend Jason to guide me by tugging on my shirt. This way all I had to think about was my framing and being smooth, while he just made sure that I didn't trip and fall and destroy any merchandise.
I think that was good.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah, that was really good.
Now because this shot ends with the camera tilting upwards, I wanted to make sure that the next shot matched it with a similar angle. With the same lens, I got a little bit closer up to the action, but because Aaron was spraying some sort of cleaning solution up in the sky, I wasn't sure if it was exactly safe. It's not gonna like hit me in the eye, right?
It might.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, in 3, 2, 1, go. Just the raw footage without any tweaking in post, the clips cut together all right, but once I played around with the footage a little bit more, I got a transition that looked pretty smooth. So I think this next shot might be my favorite shot of the whole sequence, but the key to what made this shot look so extra dramatic is that we only backlit it. There was no key light for this shot, we only used a backlight, and that was the Aperture 120D with no diffuser, and this really helped to draw some emphasis to that mist floating through the sky. And in addition to that, I also cranked my shutter speed a little bit higher than I normally would. For 120 frames per second, I would normally use a shutter speed of 1/250, but for this shot I set it to about 1/400. Now because I absolutely loved the dramatic look of this shot, I figured why not get a close-up. So we did just that using the Laowa 60mm macro. 3, 2, 1, go. Again. 3, 2, 1, go. 3, 2, 1, go.
3, 2, 1, go.
Again.
3, 2, 1, go. 3, 2, 1, go.
For these next few shots, I did keep the backlight in place, but I also turned on the key light to fill in some of that darkness. For this next shot, we stuck with that 60mm macro lens, but this time I tried out a little technique called lens whacking. Lens whacking is when you disconnect your lens from the camera and hold it up to the sensor, moving it around a little bit. This creates a light leak and makes for some interesting looking flares. This next shot was kind of tricky for keeping focus because I was changing my distance quite a bit. I like to use manual focus when I shoot, so this one did take a few tries.
Nope. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay.
Here I'm just capturing a slow, dramatic, articulating shot, trying to capture that steam. And then I follow this up by capturing the melted wax drops hitting the board, moving the camera backwards to give us something to speed ramp in post. For this ironing shot, this is actually a technique I use quite a bit. We kept going back and forth trying to sync up that timing until we got it just right. Similar idea here with the brush shot, we just had to time the movement so that the brush stayed in the center of the frame, but at the same time I wanted to make sure that he caught the brush smoothly so that when he swept the board, it would all be in one motion.
Nope. 3, 2, 1, go. Nope. 3, 2, 1, go. You didn't say no. 3, 2, 1, go.
Moving along, I tried to follow up the brush shot with a pretty similar camera movement. When I cut these two clips together in post, they didn't really transition that cleanly, so to hide the cut, I added a film burn overlay, and this makes it look more seamless. As Aaron places the board down, I tilt the camera down into black, so for the next shot, I used a fill the frame style transition where I pulled the camera out from the binding, and the final transition looks like this. When I'm nearing the end of a sequence, I like to start slowing down the pace of a video. I feel like this helps to indicate that the video is wrapping up. So here we just have the nice, simple, slow drill shot. The final shot of the sequence is from the perspective of the snowboard as it's being put into the bag. To do this, we used a friction arm and a clamp to mount our camera to the board, and we needed a really wide shot for this, so I used the Laowa 15mm macro, and this way you can still see a little bit of the board and the bindings in the frame.
So I'll hold on here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use my arm to pass that to you, and then I'm gonna the same motion feed it to you. Yeah.
Feed it.
I'll hold it here so you can grab that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the camera, so you just gotta kind of put it in my hand.
Okay.
Roll it.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Wow. Wow.
Now there is actually a full-length version of this video over on my friend Dennis's channel where they unzip the bag, pull out the snowboard, and actually ride it through the mountains of BC. So feel free to check that out if you are interested. And once again, thank you to Trade Coffee for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget that the first 100 people to click the link down in the description below will get 30% off of their first bag when they sign up. But that is it for today's behind the scenes. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at daniel.schiffer, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video.